The nation expected a laugh. What they got was a bombshell. It all started during a seemingly ordinary taping of The Daily Show, with Trevor Noah behind the desk, grinning as he always does. The crowd was ready for comedy, satire, maybe a jab or two at politicians. But what unfolded in the next 10 minutes was something far more incendiary, an on-air revelation that left viewers stunned.
I mean, he loves people he hated 5 minutes ago.
One hug, Jimmy. One hug.
One hug, right around the midsection.
One hug, you just go in there, one hug. You change the world.
Fact-checkers scrambling, and Melania Trump reportedly in emotional crisis. Trevor Noah, known for threading sharp wit into political commentary, opened the segment with a routine critique of Donald Trump's latest media stunts. The former president had been making headlines again holding rallies, teasing a
As First Lady, I believe we need to fight against the cyberbullying.
comeback and, as always, trying to command the national narrative. But Noah wasn't interested in Trump's campaign slogans or policy contradictions. Instead, he pivoted suddenly, with a tone shift so subtle.
Did you ever have Trump on the show?
No, we never did.
He did say some bad things about you on...
I don't know. I don't keep up with it.
Yeah, I do. I keep up with it. Yeah,
you
It was nearly imperceptible, Noah said. We all know Trump the politician, but what about Trump the husband? The audience laughed nervously, unsure of where he was going. And then, with devastating calm, Noah dropped the first detail, an unnamed source close to the Trump inner circle who claimed that Melania hadn't shared a bedroom with Donald in over 4 years. The claim wasn't entirely new. Rumors of separate sleeping arrangements had long circulated, but Noah backed it up with documentations, snippets from emails, flight manifests.
I have a little extra something with him because he used to really like me. I'm not sure exactly why, and I broke his little heart somehow. I think that he's...
You realize you could rekindle a friendship and change this country.
Anonymous testimonies, and one damning quote, "They live in the same house like strangers. She calls him the client." Laughter vanished from the studio. Noah's delivery remained professional, even sympathetic. He made it clear this wasn't a hit piece on Melania, but a revelation about the constructed illusion of a united front. IV years, he said. We've watched this couple play pretend at inaugurations, at photo ops, at G7 summits, but the reality behind closed doors is far more fractured. And Melania, she's not smiling because she's silent because she's surviving. It was a line that hit like a freight train. Within minutes of the...
You have like a feud with him. You have like a real... So here's what I've noticed. Like Trump's annoyance at people is directly proportional to how big they were when he like focused on the media. Does that make sense?
I see.
Clip airing online, the internet exploded. Newsrooms were in a frenzy. Trending hashtags flooded Twitter, and Melania's name topped search engines for the first time in months. The former First Lady, usually shielded from direct media scrutiny, was now the center of an unprecedented firestorm. But while the public debated whether Noah had crossed a line, what was happening behind the scenes was even more shocking. Multiple sources close to the Trump family confirmed that Melania was blindsided by the segment. She had no idea Noah had access to such personal information, nor that certain high-level aides from the West Wing days had allegedly leaked details about the couple's private life. One insider described her reaction as absolute meltdown mode. Shay reportedly screamed at staff.
So like Time Magazine is still the biggest thing in his life. And then obviously Jimmy Kimmel, SNL, if they insult him, he gets really angry about it.
Yeah.
I'm so new to him that he's just like, that.
Demanded answers, and insisted on isolating herself from public contact. A longtime family confidant claimed Melania viewed the segment as not just an embarrassment, but a betrayal. She believes someone close to Donald, someone who was in the inner sanctum, sold them out, the source said. And the worst part is, she doesn't know who. Donald Trump, on the other hand, was reportedly furious in an entirely different way. To him, this was one other example of the media targeting his family to get to him. He issued a brief public statement dismissing Noah's report as fictional garbage from a third-rate comedian, but insiders say he was livid behind closed doors.
I don't think it would change the country. I know I could rekindle the friendship with one compliment. That would be all it takes. And that's why he's such a terrible choice for president, because you can turn him around with a simple comment. I mean, he loves people he hated 5 minutes ago.
One hug, Jimmy. One hug.
One hug, right around the midsection.
One hug, you just go in there, one hug, you change the world.
Not because of the content many of the claims had circulated privately for years, but because Melania's reaction threatened to unravel the carefully crafted image. He'd spent decades protecting that image of the billionaire power couple. Cold but composed, distant yet functional was everything. Trump never needed to convince the world he was warm. He just needed to look like he was in control. And now, Trevor Noah had cracked the surface. The episode continued to dominate headlines, for the rest of the week. Pundits debated whether the revelations were fair game. Psychologists weighed in on the psychological toll of public marriages, and ex-White House staffers began anonymously corroborating Noah's report. One even described a specific incident. At a 2020 campaign event where Melania reportedly refused to exit the car until Donald stepped away from the cameras, she said, "I'm not a prop today. I'm not smiling for lies." Others revealed that Melania had long maintained a secret residence in D.C.
As First Lady, I believe we need to fight against the cyberbullying. All of the people on the Twitter who are saying the bad things, we need to stop them. We need to make sure that they cannot carry on what they're doing.
One she allegedly used to avoid staying overnight at the White House. While the building was officially used for staff, accommodations, and security detail, several individuals now claim it was actually a personal safe haven. Her retreat from the chaos of Trump Tower or the tension-filled West Wing. Trevor Noah, for his part, addressed the backlash and support with his trademark mix of clarity and poise. In a follow-up statement, he said, "This wasn't about humiliating anyone. It was about pulling back the curtain. Melania has been treated like an accessory."
She probably got home that night, dropped her keys on the table. Donald Trump was sitting in the living room, turned on the lights.
Hi, Melania. I saw what you said about me on the news. It was very not nice.
In Trump's world for years. If this makes people think twice before mocking her silence, then maybe it was worth it. But for Melania, the consequences were deeply personal. According to one of her few remaining confidants, the former First Lady has begun seriously considering a public separation, not necessarily a divorce, but a deliberate distancing from Trump's orbit. She's reportedly spoken to legal advisors about reclaiming her image and exploring her own platform separate from.
This time, the First Lady gave him the old download too slow, which made me wonder, like, when you watch that, do you think maybe Melania is jealous? Maybe that's what this was about? Oh, now you want to hold hands, Donald? You sure you wouldn't rather be holding that orb?
Her husband's. For years, she's avoided public confrontation, but this latest scandal may have finally pushed her to a breaking point. The former First Lady was also said to be angry not just with Trump or the alleged leakers, but with herself. She feels she gave up too much, ignored too many red flags. And now she's trapped in a role she never truly wanted, the source revealed. And it wasn't just emotional turmoil. Melania has reportedly been in contact with publishers and media consultants. Some believe she's weighing a major move, either a public address or, more explosively, a tell-all memoir. If true, it would mark the first time Melania steps into the spotlight on her own terms. Not as Trump's wife, but as a woman with her own.
After a couple of hours, the doctor told her she could go home, and Melania was like, "No, I should stay. I should stay until you check everything out. I stay longer." I was like, "Okay, well, Miss First Lady, since we're keeping you longer, your husband is on his way to visit." "Okay, pull the plug. We've tried everything. Pull the plug. You're not on life support. I don't care. Just try it."
In the days that followed, the media narrative spiraled into overdrive. Headlines across the spectrum, from progressive outlets to conservative strongholds, couldn't resist dissecting every layer of the scandal. Was Melania a victim of the media's invasive glare, or a silent participant in an orchestrated illusion? Was Trevor Noah wielding journalism in the guise of comedy, or was he using late-night satire to finally say what mainstream reporters had long been too cautious to voice? But beyond media noise, what truly stunned the public was just how much more began to leak out once.
We've known for a long time that President Trump once had an affair with Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. But yesterday, we learned more about the conspiracy to keep this affair quiet, thanks to Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney and Sopranos background actor. You didn't even notice him in the picture, do you? Because, you see, it turns out, like so many Sopranos characters, Cohen was wearing a wire.
The gates had been opened. Former Trump aides, once bound by non-disclosure agreements and loyalty, seemed suddenly emboldened. Some claimed that Melania's meltdown behind closed doors was the result of years of quiet frustration reaching its tipping point. She's kept so much bottled up for so long. One said, "There's only so many times you can be dragged in front of a camera. Stand by a man you may not respect, and pretend that everything's perfect." Insiders began providing granular details that painted a picture far removed from the carefully manicured public.
It was a connection. It was a connection. You said our chemistry was undeniable. Our connection felt natural. In private, he revealed himself as a gentleman, displaying tenderness and thoughtfulness.
psychotic. Melania's staff reportedly kept 2 schedules, 1 official and 1 personal recovery, used to block off days when she was emotionally unavailable, allegedly due to post-event confrontations with her husband. One aide confirmed that after particularly tense public appearances, Melania would retreat to a room in silence for hours, requesting no contact with anyone, including her own press secretary. This growing mountain of detail begged the question, had the American public been complicit in ignoring what was hiding in plain sight? Analysts began pulling footage from previous public appearances, replaying viral clips through a new lens. Moments once shrugged off Melania swatting Donald's hand away on an airport tarmac, her frozen expression at the inauguration, her refusal to join him on the campaign trail were suddenly reinterpreted as symptoms of a deeper, long-standing emotional fracture. Even fashion choices were now being decoded for hidden meaning, such as her infamous "I really don't care" jacket, once thought to be tone-deaf, now potentially understood as a cryptic cry.
What is it? What do they call them? Do they call them a truth social? That like fake Twitter that no one, even the right-wingers on really? A truth, right? I don't know what it is. Anyway, the point is Trump sent out one of his thingies, I don't know what they're called, and it said, it was like, Trevor Noah was never funny, Jon Stewart was only slightly better.
For help. Meanwhile, Trevor Noah, whose segment had set the dominoes in motion, remained largely silent after his initial clarification. Behind the scenes, however, his production team had reportedly received anonymous packages containing further information about the Trump marriage copies of hotel bookings, surveillance, timestamps, and what one staff member cryptically described as documented patterns of emotional coercion. While these materials have yet to be authenticated.
And then like he goes on like a rant and he's just like, these people don't realize if they moved more to the center like me, they would have more followers. Then I'm like, center like you? I'm like, my man, you think you're in the middle? But what was funny was like, someone was like, oh, he said that you're not funny. And I was like, yeah, I read that, but I was like, oh, so you watching?
The suggestion alone was enough to amplify public concern over what Melania may have endured, and whether the image of America's first couple was always a hollow fiction. Back at Mar-a-Lago, sources said tension was at an all-time high. Trump, unaccustomed to being exposed in such a personal way, was said to be furious, not just with Noah or the media, but with Melania herself. Some insiders allege he accused her of letting this happen, of failing to control her inner circle, and of jeopardizing the brand they had spent decades building. Melania, in turn, reportedly refused to be intimidated. This time, she didn't cry. One close contact stated, she went cold. She went silent.
In the wake of Trump's recent immigration crackdown, I've started to notice something that's got me really concerned. I think Donald Trump is trying to deport Melania. No, and you might be asking, why would he want to deport his wife? I don't know.
And she started making calls. One of those calls, according to unconfirmed reports, was to a highly sought-after crisis PR firm in New York, their specialty. Reputation rebuilding for high-profile women caught in the aftermath of political or celebrity downfall. The implication was Claire Melania was no longer looking to simply ride out the storm, she was preparing to step into her own narrative, even if it meant severing herself from Trump's once untouchable empire. Speculation intensified when she was spotted unaccompanied meeting with a former literary agent known for orchestrating high-profile memoir.
The big mystery is, what did the FBI find? Well, according to Donald Trump's third favorite son, the only thing the FBI took was his heart.
Photos were grainy, captured from across the street, but they circulated like wildfire. Was Melania finally preparing to speak? The thought alone sent shockwaves through political and media circles. A Melania and Trump tell-all would be more than just gossip. Fodder, it could pose existential threats to what remains of Trump's political ambitions. If she were to confirm even a portion of the rumors, now gaining traction, emotional neglect, manipulation, staged photo ops, private separations, it could upend public perception of the Trump dynasty at a foundational level. For some, it would be validation. For others, betrayal. But even amid rising rumors and speculative headlines, those closest to Melania insist she is not driven by vengeance. She doesn't want to destroy him. One confidant told a major outlet, she just wants freedom. Not the physical kind, she has that, but the emotional kind. The right to stop pretending. The right to step away from a stage.
Seeing what it was, but according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
She never auditioned for. Meanwhile, political analysts began reevaluating the long-term dynamics of the Trump marriage not as a romance, but as a strategic partnership. Several former Republican consultants admitted off the record that the marriage had long been considered a negotiated alliance, one that served both parties but was never based on warmth or intimacy. It was an arrangement that worked until now. As the second week of media coverage began, something changed. The flood of leaks slowed, sources clammed up, and the tone of Trump's public remarks shifted from aggression to dismissal. He began downplaying the scandal, calling it a nothing burger, and suggesting that Melania was just tired of the spotlight, like anyone would be. That his attempts to reframe the narrative fell flat. In a particularly sharp segment on a rival late-night show, a competing host summed up the moment with chilling precision. What we're witnessing isn't just the unraveling of a marriage. It's the collapse of an illusion, a myth sold to us about power, control, and perfection. And for the first time, Melania might be done playing her role. Indeed, there were signs that she was carving out her own space. 1 week after the Noah segment aired, Melania quietly relaunched her personal website. It featured a revamped biography, curated photographs without Trump, and vague but pointed language about authenticity, independence,